Okay, what is up, guys? This is Acrillix, and today I'm going to be doing a review of High on Life 2. We're going to try to keep this to 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to apologize in advance for the audio. I could not figure out how to get this to work and not be super quiet, so I had to turn the game way up to get it to not be super quiet. So let's go ahead and get started here. So for my intro, I'm just going to kind of set this up for the buy versus don't buy. Do I recommend this game to buy? No. I'll get into the reasons why later. But just to start off, no, I would not recommend purchasing this game at full price. It is just simply not worth it. On Game Pass, though, I do think it is worth, but really only if you have an existing Game Pass subscription or you are wanting to buy an Xbox Game Pass subscription to play other games as well, not just this one. So, yep. I know, that's pretty crazy, but this is how we're starting. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the performance. This is probably the worst part of this game overall. The performance in this game is not good. It is stuttery, it is noisy, it's ugly, the characters are ugly, the textures are ugly, everything is shimmering, everything is noisy. It's just not great. And it's unfortunate too because I really wanted to enjoy this game and like this game, but it just made it so difficult to enjoy when the game just runs like crap, looks like crap, textures loading in, pop in. Watch the O2 behind me or in front of me right now. You can see it's literally changing, as you talk to this guy. And also this guy looks super low res. Look at how his skin is just stretched onto the mesh. It's poorly done. It's just not great. Reflections don't look good either. Everything shimmers. There's just shimmering everywhere. It's like the screen is just constantly moving. Look at the mirror here. I'm sorry, not the mirror, the window here. It's supposed to be see-through. I don't understand why it's so noisy and so ugly and textured almost. It's very weird. I don't know if you noticed, but on their cash register, the 00 just kind of shimmers. So the worst of the performance is in this area, Circuit Arcadia. It is not as bad in other areas, but the shimmering, the artifacting sort of look still exists. But this is the worst area by far for this issue. All the windows are this weird textured glass that doesn't really make sense. I feel like they should just be clear, but for whatever reason, they decided to go with this weird texture that just makes it look like noise. And just not a fan of that. All the textures look really flat. There's no depth. There's no volume. Just everything is so flat. And it's just not great performance-wise. And it just does not look great. It's kind of muted. This is not very colorful game in every area. Some areas they are, but in some they're not. Like here, the mall, it's a little bit more colorful, which is nice. But overall, it's really not. So not great. Okay, so let's talk about the boss battles. I'm sure you've heard about Senator Muppy Doo boss battle because it was kind of all over the internet because of the sort of new mechanics here. So in this boss fight, and this is the one I'm going to focus on, the other ones do have their own niche things that they do, but this one is the staple. So in this one, you fight Senator Muppy Doo fanny pack. So you fight his fanny pack first. You can spawn minions, and you can do all these cool attacks and all that. And then once you defeat him, you can pick up the fanny pack, and you finish that phase, and his second phase is, as you can see, he's this little guy who crawls into your helmet, and he's just messing with your UI, and he's fighting pseudo in this, which is really cool. Like, I really did enjoy this boss fight. It was very different. It was not the standard yellow blister bubble things that you normally see, but boss fights like shoot the glowing parts 4 or 5 and then they die. They kind of did something new here, and I appreciate that. The other boss fights, they do similar things, not quite as cool as this one. This is definitely the highlight, but the other ones do have their own cool mechanics, but I won't spoil those. Definitely, they get a good rating on boss fights for just not going with the standard and doing something different. So definitely like that. Alright, so for the characters and writing, Kenny's gone for the first game. If you played the first game, you remember Kenny. That was voiced by Justin Roiland. Justin is gone. And unfortunately, it does hurt the game overall as a result of him being gone. It's not that he carried the narrative or anything. It was just that Kenny was such a staple of the first game. He was basically the narrator, so you lose him. That is a detractor, unfortunately. But they do, fortunately, do a pretty good job in this game of maintaining the sort of silliness that they maintained in the first game. I do feel like this game, you do need to go in understanding that this game is silly, and that is what you should expect. The humor is silly. The humor is potty humor kind of style. Outrageously crazy and ridiculous. As long as you understand that going in, I think you're going to have a good time with the humor. You just need to know that going in, it is similar to the first game in that aspect. So as long as you know that going in, that it is going to be ridiculous, it is going to be over the top, it is going to be absurdly stupid, and it really does well on going into that. I know that there have been games that have wanted to do that. They just don't push it far enough. It's a little too PC. And in this game, fortunately, they do not have that problem. So I do appreciate that. But basically none of the characters are really that memorable. Unfortunately, the guns, while they do banter, it's not enough. You do have funny characters like Jeppy, who literally only says Jeppy, but it's hilarious. Like, he's funny when he's out of his portable and you're fighting with him. He is funny. But Pseudo is probably the funniest character in the entire game. Fight me. I think he is the star of the show. He kind of replaces Kenny in a way. So definitely recommend because of Pseudo. He does a very good job. And in fact, he does such a good job that you can actually hear Pseudo's voice actor breaking character in many parts of the game, where he's just like kind of going on this tangent, either about speed running or about whatever it is you're doing in the game, because it is sort of, it knows what you're doing. So if you do something a certain way, he might pop up and he might say something funny, a funny line. He might go off on a tangent. At the end of the game, he goes off on this little tangent. And you can hear the voice actor breaking character and laughing, which is wonderful. I do really love that natural, funny, like almost Mad Libs. This wasn't a script, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about the sequel problem. So the sequel problem is a problem that I like to talk about a lot when I talk about video games, because it's a common problem. Now, if you watch TV, and you're watching a show, and it's a really good show, and you really enjoy it, and you want there to be second season, it takes so long for that second season to come out that it actually encourages you to go back and watch the first season to know what's going to happen in the second season, so you get refreshed, or you watch recaps, you do all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, High on Life 2 just doesn't have that problem. The first game is a almost exact copy of the second game. Or I'm sorry, the second game is almost an exact copy of the first game. The only change really is the main bad guy faction. You know, in the first game you're fighting the G3 cartel. In this game you're fighting bounty hunters off, and not even really, you're not even really doing that, even though that's how the game sets it up. You don't even do that, which doesn't make any sense. You're actually trying to take down Rhea Pharmaceuticals. The bounty hunter thing is actually just kind of put to the side. You still do bounty hunts, but they're not even really bounty hunts because there's no bounty involved. It's just you put that bounty there because you want to take down Rhea Pharmaceuticals to stop humans being turned into an antidepressant called Humanzapro. So it doesn't really work, unfortunately. So the whole problem with the sequel is that it's the same issue as the Outer Worlds 1 and 2. It's the same problem, just a different game. Outer Worlds 1 was fine. Like, I liked Outer Worlds 1. But why did they make a second one? It didn't do anything new. It was just the first game reskinned into a second sequel to please the publisher. The fact that you released a second game. It didn't need to exist. And I feel the exact same way about this game. The sequel just didn't need to exist. Please don't make a third one. Just let it go. Like, you did good on the first one. I feel like the first one was great. Like, a solid game. But the second one is just not there. And if you made a third one, I'm afraid of what's going to happen if you make a third one. So please don't make a third one. It's not because I don't want one. I don't like the series. I just don't see any way in which the third one would further the story, the world, the character building, the narrative arcs, the gameplay. There's nothing you could do. Unless you reinvented the entire game from the ground up, I just don't feel like it warrants its own existence with a second game, let alone a third game. So let's just let it go at this point. Okay, and then I want to talk about the playtime and value here, and also touch on the skateboard mechanic, because I know I didn't talk about that before, but the skateboard mechanic, let's just knock that out real quick, is a net positive for the game. The first game was a little too slow. It was fine, but it wanted to be Doom without the speed, which is okay, but I would have liked to see some more speed, and the skateboard does that in this game. So I do appreciate that. So great job with the skateboard mechanic. And then let's talk about playtime and value. 19 hours. I did most of the side content, not all of it, but I did most of it. I would say that the side content is good, not great. Probably not worth your time. Doesn't really further the story except for one. There is one side quest that I do recommend doing, and it is the escape room. If you do find that, would recommend doing that. I think there's 3 of them total. I think I did 2 of them. I didn't do the third one, but I would recommend doing that if you do come across it. But I wouldn't seek out all the, boxes and collectibles, the letters for the skateboard. They're okay. And then for value, does this game hold its value at its price tag for full price? No, it does not. Unfortunately, like I said in the opening, this game just doesn't have the depth, the quality, the content to warrant the full price. I think on sale, 50-75% off, I think is a good price. This is a $30 game. This is not a full price game. Okay, this is a $30 game that wants to be a $60 game or a $70 game. So I would say if you can get it on Game Pass, if you have Game Pass, I wouldn't say go buy Game Pass specifically for this game. But if there are other games that you would like to get some playtime on, while you have it, and then play this one on the side, I would recommend doing it that way. But it's just not worth the full price tag. So that's basically it for that. Okay, so let's just recap here and final verdict. My final verdict: 6 out of 10. Perfectly mid, perfectly okay. It does a lot of things right, but unfortunately the things that it does right just aren't enough to basically make up for the detractors. It's an okay game. It doesn't do anything new here. It does. Okay, I take that back. It does a few things new, but it doesn't do enough things new to warrant it being a sequel, like I talked about in the sequel problem. So I really would like to have seen some additions. Here are some ideas that I had from the first game that I would have liked to see in the second game. The first thing I would have really loved to see in the second game that was not in the second game was the different guns. I would have really liked to see a purpose to each of the guns to be a specific problem-solving tool, rather than just switching between them randomly. Because I just found myself using Sweezy a lot, and using Creature a lot, because there just wasn't that much reason to use the other ones. You never run out of ammo. So you never have to switch because of that, which is something in Doom. You know, in Doom, I know they're not the same game, but I'm just comparing them for this reason. In Doom, you have such limited ammo with each weapon that it forces you to switch between them for different problems. You know, so, you know, depending on the situation you're in, you want to switch between them so that you save your ammo for a different situation you're going to encounter later. But that's not you don't experience that with this game. So I would have liked to see that. I would have also liked to see a little bit more gameplay depth. I would have liked to see some more enemies. There's just not enough variety here. But overall, 6 out of 10. It's okay. Would recommend on Game Pass. But hope you guys enjoyed.